I hope you are told about the procedure of the program. So this program is called JIGNASA, meaning inquisitiveness, an aspiration to learn more and more knowledge, gain more and more knowledge. So in this series of JIGNASA, what we do is we take up an issue, and the concerned faculty will give you the knowledge about that particular topic from their subject point of view. And in this session, I would be giving you different viewpoints about these issues. And based on that, you would be asking the questions. And if you have any questions, then I will clarify them. That is the overall idea behind this. That is to learn the subject in a 360-degree approach. So the topic today is India's global influence. The image of India is growing around the world, is the topic. So it should be understood from a historical point of view, political, economic, scientific, technological, ethical, moral, cultural dimensions. In simple, all those areas which we study as a part of the civil service. From all those dimensions, everything has to be understood. That build our knowledge in a comprehensive way. Comprehensive development of the knowledge is the concept behind this JIGNASA. So the topic that we have to discuss today is India is emerging as a global influencer. So what is this India emerging as a global influencer? India's impact on the world is growing every day. If you look at the things that are happening in the last few days only, from sports to space, we have achieved something that could not be achieved by many countries in the world. So in the sports field, in the world athletics, several medals have been cracked by India, the Indian players. And including even in the chess also, a grandmaster has emerged in the world space. And similarly, in the space field, so you know very well about the Chandrayaan 3. And now we are marching towards Aditya L1. So all these achievements are not happened, could not be achieved in just one day or 2 days. There was a lot of planning behind this. And execution also was there. Planning, not only planning is important, execution is equally important. So it is being planned and executed. And within the execution, there are various aspects again. You need financial resources, then human resources. For any program to be initiated, you need the money. Then you need the people, the human resources. And then you need material. Just merely possessing the resources is not adequate. You also require certain executing will, the will to implement, the will to achieve the goal. So if you look at the growth story of India, that itself is a motivational study, that itself is a personality development study. Because during the last 75 years of independence of India, we have achieved something what could not be achieved by many other countries, including the neighboring countries. So India is now a global power, and it is considered to be it has emerged as the 5th largest economy in the world. And it is approaching towards 3rd largest economy very soon. And by 2075, India will emerge as a 2nd largest economy. And it is not any a blind belief. It is estimations done by the international organizations like Goldman Sachs. So those organizations have considered India as a country that has the full potential to reach the 2nd largest economy in the world after America. And if possible, if the existing conditions continue to exist, India may also emerge as a 1st largest economy in the world. In your school and almost till date, every social studies textbook was considering India as a developing country. Right? So when we know about the India's development, India's economy, the first lesson that was taught by our social studies teacher was that India is a developing country. And most of us are thinking that India is a developing country. But the reality is India has already developed. So suppose there is a grouping called G7. What is that G7? A group of 7 most economically advanced countries in the world. And among these 7 countries, do you think that India is a part? India is not a part of the G7 countries, most economically advanced countries in the world. But which is the 5th largest economy in the world? India is the 5th largest economy in the world. But India is not given the position in the G7. But there is another influence of India over the G7 countries. What is that? Consecutively for 4 years, India is being invited by the G7 countries as an observer. That is, the Prime Minister himself is being invited by the G7 countries, though India is not a member of the G7. Prime Minister is requested to participate in the G7 meeting as an influencer. This is one economic dimension that has changed the global economic order. Second aspect, India is also influencing the global politics. Not only the economic aspects, it is influencing the global politics. How India is influencing the global politics? When the Russian and Ukrainian war has begun, everybody was in a situation of chaos. But on the request of the Prime Minister of India, Russia and Ukraine have stopped the war for 2 days. They suspended the war for 2 days. Why the Prime Minister has requested these 2 countries to suspend the war for 2 days? So that the Indians who are studying abroad, in Ukraine particularly, they have to be brought back to India. On the personal request of the Prime Minister, they have suspended the war for 2 days. It is the biggest influence that India can show to the world. And one more political influence that India was showing over the global elements is that today United Nations is celebrating June 21st as the what? Yoga Day, International Yoga Day. So it would not have been possible without the Prime Minister's influence. Yoga was there before the existing Prime Minister. Yoga will be there even in the future. But how the United Nations has adopted yoga to mark the international as a particular day is because of the influence that India is showing over that. 2023 is the International Year of Millets. International Year of Millets. So millets is one of the staple food for Indian people in India. And how the United Nations has adopted this millets as a theme to declare a particular year as an international year. International Year of Millets. It would not be possible without such influential ability. Once upon a time, India was ill-treated. It used to be ill-treated at the global high table. Global high table means where the global high leaders were meeting, India was just ignored. The prime ministers were just ignored. So today, India is standing on the top of the global high table. It is accepting the leadership positions. Politically, suppose this year we are holding the presidency of the G20, which is occupying almost 40% of the global GDP. So that is one dimension where India is influencing the global order from the political point of view. And another dimension is how India is influencing the global order is that India is also emerging as one of the toughest military powers in the world. Once upon a time, India was not having any military power at all. Before 1962, India was totally weak in terms of military. Completely weak in terms of military. And because of that, in 1962, when India had to fight a battle with China, India was defeated. And China has occupied 95,000 square kilometers of Indian territory. 95,000 kilometers of Indian territory has been occupied by China. that there was nothing that India could do about that to regain our territory. But today that is not the same case. India after 1962 is gradually improving its weapon power, military strength. But still, till 2012, India remained only as arms importer. Only as an arms importer. India was having a dubious distinction of being considered as the largest arms importer in the world. Largest arms importer in the world. We used to import arms and ammunition from various parts of the world. Particularly 85% of our arms used to be imported from Russia. And America was rejecting supplying arms and ammunition to India. That was the condition. Even they were not selling the arms and ammunition. That was the ill treatment used to be given to India. But after 2014, what happened? India has transformed from arms importer to arms exporter. Meaning, today we are fulfilling our own arms requirements as well as fulfilling the requirements of other countries also. And one more achievement is, we are selling arms and ammunition even to Russia also. So Russia was the 85% arms importer for the exporter for India. And from that position now, Russia is also seeking arms and ammunition from India. We have sold Pinaka rocket launchers to Turkmenistan. So that is again another achievement that India has achieved in terms of strategic aspects. Strategic dimension means military requirements. From 2015, India's arms exports have raised, not 1% or 10% or 100%, it has raised to the extent of 385%. There was a growth of 385% of arms exports from India to various countries in the world. And this is what the India is doing at the global level. India has emerged as a global influencer. And a fun fact is that at the global level, even our Ram Charan and Junior NTR have also become popular influencer at the global level. So after the release of this RRR movie. So India's movies are becoming prominent around the world. It would not be possible without the support of the government. Just because the government support is also there, these people are also showcasing their capabilities around the world at the global level. So this is one dimension. Another dimension, from the medical point of view. During the COVID-19 period, if you look at the COVID-19, what happened? Everything was shut down. But we desperately need the vaccines. So, initially we have tried to bring the Pfizer vaccines. The Pfizer vaccines are manufactured by the American company. But they did not agree to sell vaccines to India. We have taken it very lightly. We are not so serious about that. So what we have done, the government has encouraged Bharat Biotech. With encouraging the Bharat Biotech, we have developed our own vaccine brand. And we developed the vaccine brand, not only we have used them for the personal purpose, for the requirements of the people back in India. We are also supplying these vaccines to various countries in the world. For 150 countries, we have supplied the vaccines. Of course, we are not providing free of cost. For some countries, we have provided free of cost. And for remaining other countries, 130 countries, we are selling the vaccines. So, otherwise, if there was no proper leadership, if there is no proper support from the government, Bharat Biotech would not have done this. So, only because of the support ecosystem that is being created by the government, now we are in a position to influence the global order, even in terms of the vaccine supply as well. That is another dimension. Similarly, we have also adopted the policy of development diplomacy for various countries in the world. What is the development diplomacy? That is promoting the good relations with other countries with development, through the development of other countries, with the support of India. Once upon a time, we used to take financial support from World Bank. We used to take financial support from IMF and from the government of America and the government of Britain or the government of Russia. They used to give us arms. But today we have transformed again, even in terms of this financial support also. India is no more a financial support recipient country. India has emerged as transformed into financial support giving country. At least 62 countries in the world are receiving financial support from India. And India is implementing 540 developmental projects across the world in various countries in the world. That is in 62 countries in the world. 540 developmental projects in Asia, Latin America, and also in Africa. So this is how India is implementing a development diplomacy, by providing the development opportunity, which is different from the debt diplomacy of China. What is the debt diplomacy of China? Debt diplomacy of China means China was advancing loans to various countries, and that too at a very high rate of interest. And it is gradually forcing those countries to control, to be under its control. So China is providing financial support in the name of development, but it is giving only in the form of debts and pushing those countries into a debt spiral. And the most important example for this is our neighbors only. Again, how our neighbors have fallen into a debt spiral created by China. One is Sri Lanka, and second now is Pakistan. So this is the India has adopted a positive aspect of development diplomacy, while China has adopted debt diplomacy to push the countries into the debt, a kind of vicious circle of debt, or debt spiral. We call it as a debt spiral. So this is how from various angles that India has emerged as a global influencer. It has the capacity to stop the wars if it requires to stop. But it cannot force the countries to stop the war. But it has the capacity to convince the people, the leaders of the world, to stop the war also. The Prime Minister has personally asked the President of Russia, Putin, to stop the war as soon as possible in a global meeting, at a global meeting level. And even Putin has also agreed for that. If all the circumstances are correct, there was no objection for him even to stop the war. So earlier, no leader used to influence the global leaders to that level. And because of all these dimensions, India is having every right. India has a right to become a permanent member in the Security Council. Because India was offered a permanent membership in the Security Council in 1950 by the American government. At that time, we have rejected it. The Prime Minister has rejected it. Jawaharlal Nehru rejected it. Why Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru rejected it? Because America's proposal is to replace China with India. Why China has to be replaced? Because already in the form of Russia, there was a communist country in the permanent membership in the Security Council. So why there should be another communist country in the form of China? So whereas America is a capitalist country, so America don't want another capitalist communist country from Asia. So it wanted to replace China with India. But the Prime Minister did not agree, because if China is being replaced with India, China will be angry with us. That was the fear of the Prime Minister. Why China will be angry with us? Because China may wage a war if it is being replaced in the Security Council. And again in 1955, another proposal for the membership of Security Council, permanent membership of Security Council, came from Russia. The USSR has also proposed it. But even the USSR proposal, but in fact it was a different proposal. China will continue as a member of the Security Council. India will take up the membership as a sixth country. India will become a sixth permanent member. But even that was also not agreed by the government of India at that time. Again, to prevent any kind of angry with China. So ultimately what happened? In just a span of 7 years, China proved its reality. In 1962, China has waged a war for the sacrifice that India has made for the sake of China. We did not accept the membership of permanent membership of the Security Council only for the sake of China. But what China has done? China has waged a war on India in 1962 only. But today India has every eligibility to become the permanent member of the Security Council. Every eligibility that India is having. This is how India's influence over the global order is emerging, is increasing. And even in terms of, suppose, startup company, even in terms of startup companies also. In 2016, we used to have 200 odd startup companies. But today there are 84,000 startup companies. And out of them, nearly 108 unicorn companies are there, which is third largest in the world. Third largest number of unicorn companies. Single largest unicorn companies are there in America to the extent of 800 companies. China has the second largest unicorn companies, almost to the extent of 200. India has 108 unicorn companies, which is third largest in the world. What is a unicorn company? A company that is having a value of, net worth value of minimum 100 crores. A company having a minimum value, net worth of 100 crores is a unicorn company. So such companies are there in India. How many companies? 108 companies are there. That is another achievement at the global level. And the most important thing that India is leading the world is that India has the largest population in the world. India is the largest populated country in the world. Is it good or bad to have the largest population? No country in the world is close to India except China. If you minus the China, no other country will match India's population. Now today India has crossed even Chinese population also in 2023 only. So what? Because the fetching point, the benefit is for India is that 40% of these people in India are young population. Average age of 28 years. Whereas in China, the young population is only 30%. Average age of this young population is 38 years. Whereas India, average age of population is 28 years. Young population is 28 years. So that means we have a demographic dividend. What is demographic dividend? Demography means population. Dividend means advantage. Advantage that we can derive from the population. Earlier, we used to be told by the social studies teacher that India has the biggest problem, and that problem is known as population. But that is not the problem. India has benefit of population, advantage of population. That is the, what is that? Demographic dividend. So because of this demographic dividend, the world has to recognize us. India cannot be ignored. Either you have to support India or you have to be enemy with India. But you cannot ignore India. Like Pakistan and China, you have to be enemy with me. Or like Russia, you have to be a friend of me. But you cannot ignore me. Why India cannot be ignored by the world? Because it is the biggest market for the world. It is both a supplier as well as in a demanding position. India is providing supply and demand for the world in terms of exports or imports. So suppose India has recently suspended export of rice. The non-basmati type of rice has been suspended. And similarly, it is also thinking in terms of suspension of sugar exports also. And every country in the world is worrying now because it will create a food crisis in the world. Why we have just because India has suspended the export of the rice and sugar, countries around the world are worrying. So that is another dimension. And similarly, India was an importer of the oil once upon a time. Today, India is the exporter of the oil. We are importing the oil from Russia and exporting the same oil to finished oil to finer oil to European Union. So this is the transformation India has achieved. So as a civil servant, what you have to learn, civil service aspirant, what you have to learn is that you will become a part of the developmental strategy, developmental growth story of India. Because in the future, once upon a time, as of now, a dollar is almost equal to $1 we are buying at a rate of 80 rupees per dollar. But in 1919, in the year 1919, a dollar was bought by the people in India at a rate of 1 rupee only, and in fact at minus level only. They used to buy Indian rupee for $19. 1 Indian rupee used to be $19. Today reverse has happened, and in the future further reverse will be happening. That means in the future when India's rupee will become strengthened, then the people from America will have to buy the Indian rupee by spending $80. 1 rupee will be $80 in the future in 2075. So where you will be a part of the civil service administration. This achievement, whatever the achievement that I have explained you now, they would not be possible without the support of the bureaucracy. Because only the politician, prime minister, other ministers, they are only politicians. They just only support. They are creating only the supporting system to achieve these goals. It is all actually done by the bureaucracy. And of course, not only by the government, with the support of the corporate sector. Without the participation of the corporate sector, this economic growth would not be achieved. What is that corporate sector? Private companies. No country in the world developed without the contribution of the private companies. Government and the private companies should work together to achieve the economic growth and development. Ambani's or the Reliance company or the Adani companies, they are the biggest companies in the country which are contributing to the economic growth of India. Without them, we cannot imagine India's growth story. Suppose today 49% of the military production is being privatized. When it is being privatized, private companies, bigger companies are participating in the manufacturing of arms and ammunition, like the Tatas, Ashok Leyland, and the Adani Group. They are all contributing to the manufacturing of arms and ammunition. Then there are several, nearly 40 startup companies are also there. 40 startup companies are also manufacturing new era weapons and ammunition. Like there is a startup company which has produced self-operating, artificially intelligence managed rifles. Artificially intelligence managed rifles means the company is called as a Big Bang Boom Solutions. Big Bang Boom Solutions is a startup company which is manufacturing this non-human operated, self-operated, artificially intelligence operated rifles, which can be used in the borders without the presence of the human being. It operates by itself. It has an infrared camera, and it can have the possibility to observe any movement of any animal. It can distinguish between the animal and the human being. So when it can distinguish between the animal and human being, animals will not be killed. Only the human beings, if they are moving unwantedly, they will be killed. And the best part of this rifle is it can load its own bullets. It has the capacity to load its own bullets also. So that is the kind of innovation that India is achieving today. Without the presence of the human being, human soldier, you can operate the war. So that is the kind of things. And we are also, incidentally, we are also training the eagles. Eagles are also being trained by the military to capture the drones released by the Pakistan government, Pakistan military. Because drones are usually invisible. They cannot be captured by the radars also. So, whereas the eagles can do this, they can capture the movement of the drones because of the extraordinary capacity of vision of the eagles. They can capture the drones. If the drone has escaped, then the eagles will be operated, and those eagles can capture the drones also. That is the kind of thing, that is the kind of innovation we are using in the military as a part of the military technology. A combination of human, animal and machines. All the three are being used in the military operations, in the military activities. So therefore, today, no country can unwantedly enter into India's premises. If they try any kind of entry into the India's premises, they will be ruthlessly, brutally killed. So we have already operated 2 surgical strikes successfully on Pakistan. 2 surgical strikes in 2016 on Pakistan. We have killed them by entering into their territories. We have killed the terrorists entering into their territory. Just like there is a dialogue in KGF, Guske Marenge. कहाँ घुस के मारेंगे? Pakistan territory. Into the Pakistan territory we breach and we kill those terrorists if they try to do anything for India. We have done that. We have proved it for the Pakistan. So therefore the number of incidents of Pakistan army or Pakistan terrorists entering into the Indian territory have reduced radically. Before 2015, if you see, almost every day there used to be an exchange of fire between the army of India and the army of Pakistan. Every day there was a news in the newspaper. But today there are no such news elements. In 1962, China has occupied how many kilometers of Indian territory? 95,000 kilometers of Indian territory. But today, if China is making any such attempts, we are daringly preventing China from occupying Indian territory. We have done it 3 times. Since 2020 only, not before even that. Even in 2020, in the Galwan sector. During the COVID-19 lockdown time, you would have, if you have remember that, about the Galwan sector in Jammu and Kashmir region. Then Tawang sector in the Arunachal Pradesh region. So in these places, China was recourse to trying to enter into the Indian territories. But our Indian soldiers have successfully prevented such kind of any breach of territorial entry of the Chinese soldiers. Because the tendency of the military, the attitude of the military has also drastically changed. Because when you are militarily strong, your influence at the global level will be strong. Because a country will be considered to be the superior country, a superpower, when it is economically strong as well as strategically strong. What is strategic strength? Strategic strength means military strength. So we are manufacturing the arms and ammunition by the government. Government is manufacturing through what is known as the ordnance factories. We have 7 ordnance factories today. Earlier there used to be 31 ordnance factories. The government has rationalized them and merged them into 7. And these 7 ordnance factory manufactures the arms and ammunition. Apart from that, there are 8 private larger companies. As I told you, Adani's, Tata's, the Ashok Leyland, 8 private companies, bigger companies, which are also providing the arms and ammunition to the military. Apart from that, around 42 startup companies are also there, which are innovating new kind of weapons. Then we are also entering into the MOUs with the foreign companies. Like companies from Israel are also supporting India in the manufacturing of arms and ammunition. A private company and the other companies from other countries. And today, one thing that we have to recognize the reality is, as I told you that earlier America denied India to sell any arms and ammunition. Today America is requesting India to purchase their arms and ammunition. To that level our influence has grown. As I told you that either you have to be an enemy with India or you have to be a friend of India, but you cannot ignore India. So America cannot ignore India because it has the capacity to buy, it has the capacity to sell. It has the capacity to buy anything. Now we are buying the seaports, The Adani group is buying the seaports from Israel. We are proud of it. Usually, other countries used to come to India, they are buying the seaports in India. And today, the situation has reversed. We are buying the seaports from other countries also, in other countries as well. That is the transformation that has occurred in Indian economic policies, political strategies, cultural dimensions. So, we are using both strong power as well as the soft power. Strong and soft power to influence the global politics. India has occupied the global high table, the leadership of the global high table, including the chairpersonship of the G20. India was also, before accepting the G20 leadership, India was also leader of the president. India was also occupying the presidentship of the United Nations Security Council. That is, from among the non-permanent members, every year one member will be selected as the chairperson of the Security Council. And before the acceptance of this, India was also doing that job as well, being the United Nations Security Council presidency. So such kind of global high table occupation was also there. India's symbols, which are considered to be the symbols of India, are being used by the United Nations as well. And not only that, in several Hollywood movies also, if you have a habit of watching the Hollywood movies, every second film is having some reference about India. Without a reference about India, there are no Hollywood movies, we can say that. Even if the recent Hollywood movie, there was a reference about India's Bhagavad Gita, that is Oppenheimer. Without reference about India, Hollywood movies are not being shooting their cinemas at all completely, because India has a potential market even for the Hollywood movies also. In every alternate Hollywood movie, reference about India is taking place, because most number of people in India are also watching the Hollywood movies. India is providing the biggest market for them, so they cannot ignore India. So from every dimension, India's impact at the global high table is increasing. At the global level is increasing. India has emerged as the most influential influencer at the global level. Most influential influencer. So this is the story so far about the topic that we have to discuss today. So based on what I have discussed and what your faculty have taught you, so if you have any questions, you can ask me that. So, I think there is no need to talk among yourself, discuss among yourself. If you have any question, if you have a question, you ask me. You don't discuss among yourselves. See, even the questions in the examination are also asked on these lines only. Before 2015-16, the questions were mostly in the mains based on the criticism of the government policy. And you are expected to only criticize the government policy. But after 2016, the nature of the question has changed. You are expected to only support the government policy. Even as a civil servant, you are supposed to support the government policy, however worst it may be. If you criticize as a civil servant, if you are in the service already, if you criticize the government policy, you will be immediately suspended from your job. Suppose during the COVID-19 time, lockdown time, there was a doctor, anesthetician in Andhra Pradesh. I think he is Mr. Srinivas, Dr. Srinivas. He criticized the failure of the government to provide the necessary PPE kits in the hospital. Openly he criticized in front of a camera. And after 10 days he was being arrested and he was sent to the jail. Just because he criticized the government policies for the failure of the government. So criticism will be taken care by somebody else. Opposition parties, journalists, they will take care of it. But as a civil servant, you are eating the salary given by the government. Government is your master. You are the servant of the people. And as a servant of the people, and people are ruled by the government, you are not supposed to criticize the government under any circumstances. Though something wrong has happened, but still you don't have any right to criticize the government. That is what you have to learn. So, suppose when I am asking you to, if you have any questions, don't discuss among yourself. That's not the right strategy. That will be ruthlessly punished, just like the government did. So, I am telling you this because the questions are asked on those lines. You are expected to support the policy of the government. That's all. And on those lines only the questions are asked. And if you are asked to criticize the government, something like critically examine India's foreign policy, then you are asked to criticize the foreign policy. But when you are asked to write an essay on critically examine the India's foreign policy, you have to write about the foreign policy first. Then you have to identify the good aspects, the merits and advantages of that policy. Then you have to criticize it. And when you criticize something about the government, you should also give the solutions. Without giving the solutions, you should not conclude. Suppose India is also not free from limitations, but those limitations should not be highlighted. Limitations and the issues should not be highlighted. This is the reason why I have taken up this session today after the Independence Day celebrations. So I think you are there in the Independence Day celebration, right? In the Independence Day celebration, I think in the first year students only, they played a skit. What is that skit about? All the evils of India. You are talking only about the evils of India without suggesting any existing government policy and improvisations. For every evil that you are discussing in the skit is having a government policy to deal with it. Problem is not with the policy or not with the nation. The problem is with the people that you are not highlighted. So you were saying that there was, crime against the women, there was crime against the children, corruption in the administration. You have highlighted only the worst things without highlighting anything good on a good occasion, an auspicious occasion. We were celebrating 75 years, completion of the 75 years of independence, and we were talking about the Amrut Kal on that occasion. Amrut Kal means India was marching towards 100 years of independence. So during that Amrut Kal, you have poured some kind of a vicious nature kind of things. You made it vicious. Of course, your skit is good, but that is not the right occasion to highlight about those things. So, of course, but the problem is not with the programs of the government. The problem is not with the nation. The problem is with only few people who are not following these laws of the government. That's the reason actually. But what you say you are describing them as a government policy. You are describing as a government as if the government is asking you to commit violence against the children. Did the government ask you to commit violence against the children? Did the government ask you to commit sexual harassment of the women? Who are doing, government or people? Is it the nation? Is it the wrong committed by the nation or the individuals? It is the individuals. That is at the individual level, not everybody doing. Are you doing the same thing? Are you people committing violence against the children? Are you people committing the sexual harassment of the women? You are not doing it. Out of the 100 crore people, 140 crore people, there will be 1% of the people who are vicious, who should be eliminated. And we are on the verge of that. And when you have highlighted that point, means you have to give solution also. And solution is not suggesting some moral principles. Suggesting moral principles, anybody can do that. The solution should be constructive. What is a constructive solution? That can be adaptable, practically adaptable, not over the top. That should be the criteria for suggesting the solution. And you don't have to think about the solution also. Already all these issues have been debated, discussed and analyzed by various committees and commissions and around the country. And those committees and commissions, including the Supreme Court, has also suggested the solutions. And if you read those solutions, you can give them as an alternative criteria. So that is what is required. What you all have to do is read the recommendations of Second Administrative Reforms Commission. These recommendations of the Second Administrative Reforms Commission has solution for every evil that is existing in India. What is that Second Administrative Reforms Commission? In 1966, the Government of India has appointed Administrative Reforms Commission. Then again in 2005, the government has constituted Second Administrative Reforms Commission. Second commission on the administrative reforms. What changes have to be brought in the government administration. So it has addressed every problem, every issue that India is facing now. The issue is not from all the people. The issue is coming from only 1%, less than 1% of the total population. They have to be dealt with. Suppose for 75 years, India has bothered about the terrorism in Jammu and Kashmir. And in 2019, what the government has done, the problem is solved now. The terrorist problem in Jammu and Kashmir is totally solved by abrogating Article 370 and by dividing the state into 2 union territories. And after 3 years, the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, if you look at the situation in Jammu and Kashmir, complete peace and tranquility is existing there. As of August, around 1 crore people have visited Jammu and Kashmir in 2023 only. 1 crore 20 lakhs people have visited Jammu Kashmir as a part of the tourism. As of August only. We are still in the 8th month of the year. Meaning still 4 months are left. And this is indicating that the economy in Jammu and Kashmir is growing, the people are happy, the people are peaceful now. Therefore, public order situation is good, and tourists from around the world and particularly India are visiting Jammu and Kashmir. And for that matter, the staunch opposition to the government, Rahul Gandhi as well as Sonia Gandhi, have also recently visited Jammu and Kashmir. Even in the newspaper also it was published. Secretly they have visited. And thanks to the government that has brought this peace, whereby even the opposition leaders were also visiting to enjoy the scenic beauties of the Jammu and Kashmir state. Once upon a state, today it is the union territory. Means the administration of this region is under the control of the central government. So this is before 2019, if a child goes to the school in a particular year, it would not be more than 40 days. If a child goes to school for more than 40 days means that was a great thing that was achieved. Because out of the 365 days, almost only 40 days only that the schools were operating. Remaining all other days, the schools was closed. But today, during the last academic year, the schools in Jammu and Kashmir ran for 200 days, which is 240 days in the remaining country. 200 days in Jammu and Kashmir. Still, it's a great achievement. Means largely Jammu and Kashmir is free from those curfews which prevented the children from attending the schools. So, and in 1990, there was a movie theater in Jammu and Kashmir that was closed. Only one movie theater that used to be closed. And after 20 years, after the abrogation of Article 370, now the INOX has opened a theater over there. People started going to the movies also now. That means people started enjoying the entertainment. During this 30-year period, there was no entertainment for them. They have to stay back only. They have to stay back home. They cannot leave the home after 6 p.m. That was the condition. And from that condition, today, 1,20 lakhs people have visited Jammu and Kashmir on tourism purpose. And a movie theater is being opened there. People are earning the money, enjoying their social evenings, and sending their children to the schools. This is the change that has occurred in India. So when internally, when your public order is strong, when your military is strong, externally at the global level, you will be respected. As I told you in the beginning, when India's Prime Minister used to visit any international treaty, international summits, he used to be ignored. But today, the Prime Minister is being recognized and called upon, specially called upon, to attend the meetings, attend the summits. People, global leaders are enthusiastic to take selfies with the Prime Ministers. Australian Prime Minister has called the Prime Minister of India as the boss of the world. You are the boss of the world. And another Prime Minister has touched the feet of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of some other country, I don't remember the name of the country, and that Prime Minister has touched the feet of the Prime Minister of India when he visited that country. So that is the kind of change that has been brought in India during the last 10 years. So it would not be possible to immediately bring all kinds of changes. And over a period of time, in the next 25 years, India will emerge as the superpower. And India is already proving that it is a superpower. In terms of space, in the space economy, and in the space technology, and in terms of sports, is also it is growing. The India superpower character is growing. And in terms of any other aspect, India is an influential country in the world. So, now, any question now? Yes. Oh, sorry.
So my question is, to what extent the evergreen revolution will change and shape the agriculture sector in India?
So as of now, India is the largest exporter of the rice in the world. And it is also the third largest exporter of the wheat in the world. And India's agricultural products are very much respected across the global world. And once upon a time, we used to have a green revolution concept, which is a very defective system. We, in the economy books, think that green revolution is the biggest achievement that India has achieved. But it is the worst thing that would have happened to India, green revolution. Why it is the worst thing? Is because green revolution was not successful in the country except 2 or 3 states. Right or not? Green revolution is only successful in the states like Punjab, Haryana, and at the most Uttar Pradesh. And it was confined only to one product. What is that? Wheat. Only wheat production. Only in terms of wheat production, India could able to achieve something. But however, with reference to the other products, nothing has been achieved. Green revolution was largely remained only uninfluential in the country, in the rest of the states, with reference to the rest of the states. Only in 3 states, maximum: Punjab, Haryana, and Uttar Pradesh. In remaining other states, there is no impact of Green Revolution at all. Despite the implementation of the Green Revolution, the Bimaru states remained Bimaru. What are the Bimaru states? The most poverty-ridden states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh. They remained Bimar. Means they remained poverty-ridden despite the implementation of the Green Revolution. Poverty could not be eliminated even after implementing the Green Revolution. But we appreciate the Green Revolution for some reason or the other. And, Yuvraj Singh. Do you know about Yuvraj Singh? Yuvraj Singh is one of the major contributor to India's World Cup winning team. And after that, Yuvraj Singh was not there in the Indian team. Is because he was affected by the cancer. Why he was affected by cancer? Because there was Green Revolution in his state. Why there was a link? Where is the link between Green Revolution and Yuvraj Singh cancer? Is there any connectivity? Definitely there is a connection. Highest number of cancer patients are there in Punjab and Haryana. 66% of the cancer patients are there in Punjab. Why 66% of the people are affected by cancer? Is because of the Green Revolution. Why Green Revolution is responsible for this is because of the Green Revolution, you are improving the productivity by using the chemical fertilizers. By using the chemical fertilizers, you are increasing the manufacturing of the production of these goods. So when these remnants of the chemical fertilizers remains in the food products and they are eating the same food product, that has affected the public health on a large scale. And because of the Green Revolution, there was another problem, and that is depletion of the groundwater. Depletion of the groundwater. Why there was a depletion of the groundwater? Because for every square kilometer, there should be at the most 10 boring pump sets would be there. Only 10 on an average. There should be only 10 boring pump sets. But because of the Green Revolution, government has given electricity subsidy and encourage the people to take up the dig up the boring wells. And in India, for every square kilometer, there are 250 boring pumps after the Green Revolution. 250 boring pumps were digged in a space of just 1 square kilometer on an average. That means when you are, instead of 10 boring pumps, you are digging 250 boring pumps, means you have drunken the entire water, depletion of the entire groundwater level. So this is one of the reasons for the crisis of agriculture in India. Green Revolution can be considered to be one of the crises of agriculture. And I am not giving these details by my own knowledge. These are all the details that were given by the 12th 5-year plan document, the last plan that was implemented in India. In the 12th 5-year plan document, you can read all these things, all the details that I have discussed now. And 12th 5-year plan document was made by the Congress government only. The same Congress government that has implemented the Green Revolution. So they themselves have recognized these realities. So therefore I tell you, Green Revolution is something that is the worst thing that could happen for India. And then there are several other revolutions also in India. Other revolutions like White Revolution, that was successful. You should not revolutionize the natural things actually. Revolution means what? Natural things should not be revolutionized. What is the revolution and what is the natural thing? A natural thing is something that is produced by the nature itself. Revolutionizing means making a spurt, creating a spurt in something. A sudden change in something, a big change in something is called a revolution. A plant has a capacity to produce 10 flowers a day, suppose. If you revolutionize the product, what happens? It will start producing 100 flowers a day. But will it have the capacity to accept that capability, that productivity? It may not have that capacity. So very soon it will die. After producing 2 days or 3 days or maximum 10 days, it will die. And what you are doing for making this plant to produce more, you are pouring the chemical fertilizers. You are giving unwanted water. It is not drawing the water by itself. You are giving the water. So as a result, it will have the capacity to produce more, but it will very soon die. If there is a child, what usually in the people who will recourse to these crimes like the people who are kidnapping the children, they recourse to the child trafficking, and these children will be converted into prostitutes by giving them chemical injections. And when the injections are given in just a span of 10 days, their organs, physical organs, will grow. For the sake of making them, converting them into these girls into prostitutes, their organs are artificially grown up. So when their organs are artificially grown up, that girl cannot survive for a long time. It should happen naturally. The same thing is happening in the process of plant revolution, green revolution, all these things. And they cannot sustain for a long time. It will not give the positive results. Therefore, there was a green revolution, there was a white revolution, there was a blue revolution. Blue revolution means increasing the productivity of the marine products. It is fish and other things. Even that is also dangerous. If you happen to see this movie Republic, so that shows how chemicals are being used to grow the fish. That was another situation. That's the blue revolution. And then they spoke about the rainbow revolution, simultaneous revolution for all the things, a rainbow revolution. Now the government is speaking about the evergreen revolution. And this evergreen revolution means it is improving the agricultural productivity without recoursing to the revolutionary production, without unnaturally adopting the things, is a part of this. Now you adopt a natural process instead of unnatural process. And it will not be happening, it will not happen in one incident or in one event. Just like the green revolution happened in one event. That will not be a one-time effort. It will be a ever effort, ever process. Just like the agriculture in India is actually an evergreen process. We have been practicing agriculture in India for the past 5,000 years. When we are practicing agriculture for 5,000 years, what does it mean? Was it not an evergreen revolution? According to the requirements of the nature, we are doing this. According to the demands of the nature, we have been practicing the agriculture. So the same thing, the same traditional methods of agriculture will be practiced as a part of this. Suppose even in Telangana also, for example, we are improving in Telangana, we are improving the agricultural product by naturally recoursing to the irrigation process. Natural irrigation, we are recoursing to the natural irrigation through the programs like, projects like Mission Bhagirath, Mission Kakatiya. What these missions are intended to do, this Mission Kakatiya or Mission Bhagirath, they are the revival of the traditional methods of irrigation. And therefore you see that, just like before 2014, when you go to Andhra in a highway, on the either side of the roads, you will be finding the green fields. Either side of the road, there are green fields on it. Entire roads are green fields. But today, the same situation, the same scenario is visible even in Telangana. How it is visible in Telangana? It is because natural practices of farming through the government policy of Mission Kakatiya or Mission Bhagirath, and government is also enforcing some heavy projects, kind of Kaleswaram projects. So, Telangana is also equally matching with Andhra in terms of agriculture production. So such kind of natural farming will become a part of India's agricultural growth story in the future. Because of this evergreen revolution. So this evergreen revolution will make India as a agricultural superpower, not merely the industrial superpower. This kind of practices in the agriculture sector would be helpful to achieve agriculture superpower character of India. That status will be achieved. Therefore, the world is worried about if India has taken a policy of stopping the exporting of rice, if stopping the export of the wheat, if the government of India has stopped the export of sugar. Why the world is worried about it? Because India has stopped the production, has stopped the export of these products. So very soon India will emerge as an agriculture superpower. And there are problems in the agriculture also, as you know very well. But those problems have to be rectified with alternative programming. Alternative programming means without focusing on the agriculture only. India's agriculture is contributing 18% to the GDP. But the number of people who are depending on the agriculture is almost 40 plus. 60% of the people in the country are still dependent directly or indirectly on agriculture. 40% of the people are directly depending on the agriculture. But it is contributing only 18% to the economy, to the GDP, which is a very huge variation. So what these extra people have to be done, which is not necessary, the people who are not necessarily depending on the agriculture. So these extra people have to be diverted to other activities. Government's programs in the other fields will contribute to that. Government programs, suppose in 1990, when Prime Minister was Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he initiated two extraordinary programs. One is Golden Quadrangle Project. Golden Quadrangle Project. Golden Quadrangle Project means, which is, again, I am talking about this Golden Quadrangle Project and Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. These two programs are intended to reduce the dependency of the people on agriculture. That is needed. So what is this Golden Quadrangle Project? Highway roads, constructing the highway roads connecting all the 4 metropolitan cities. We have this ORR, connecting a highway road. Those programs, those projects are a part of this Golden Quadrangle Project. Connecting these highway roads, rural roads are constructed. And in the name of the project is called as the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Village Roads Program. And because of this, what happened? The commutation between the villages to the urban areas has improved. The time of transportation has reduced. More people approaching the urban areas for the education and for the employment. And as a result, since 1990, the number of people who are depending on the agriculture have come down very strongly from 66% to 40% today in the span of 23 years. In 1990, 60% of the population was depending directly on the agriculture. Today it is only 40%. Almost 25% of the people have converted to other activities, service sector and other industrial activities. So dependency on the agriculture is declining, and the productivity and dependency matching will be improved now. So such kind of other programs implemented by the government, not directly related to the agriculture, will be contributing positively to the evergreen revolution also. So it will make India to stand and emerge as a agricultural superpower in the very near future. It would not be achieving the second largest economic goal will not be possible without improving the agriculture and industrial sector and also the service sector. The emerging sector is the service sector. So any other question?
Sir, I have two questions. The first one is, as you have said earlier, India is becoming powerful day by day. So, is it possible for India to retake the lost territories of POK and Aksai-Chin? If it is possible, when can we expect the government to retake the lost territories? And the second question is, how far is it possible and also useful for India to realize the dream of Akhand Bharat? Akhand Bharat.
So first thing, whether we can get back Pak-occupied Kashmir, right? It is very easy actually, but we are not doing it. The government of India is not doing it because Pakistan is already reeling under troubles. Too many troubles. The recent floods has affected the Pakistan government very badly. Financially, it is completely zero. In fact, it is in the minus level. And the regular countries which were offering loans to Pakistan were not ready to offer the loans. Turkey, which is one of the major economic contributor to Pakistan, by itself is in the troubles after the earthquake in Turkey in this year only. There was, if you remember, in 2023 January, I think, there was an earthquake that has badly affected the economy of Turkey also. So Turkey is not in a position to offer help to Pakistan. Secondly, the countries in the Middle East were also offering financial help to Pakistan. But they are also not ready to do that because the people around the world, countries around the world, reducing their dependency on the oil. Oil dependency is declining. Why oil dependency is declining? Is because we are shifting to alternative forms of energy. Battery vehicle, depending upon the battery vehicle, consumption of the battery vehicles is increasing. So in the near future, in the next 20 years, consumption of the petroleum will come down totally. So it is a financial trouble for the Middle East countries themselves. So they cannot support Pakistan. They cannot give money to Pakistan. And another financial support coming from the IMF, that is American government. Major contributor to IMF is America, and IMF is used to give money to Pakistan. And even IMF is not ready to provide any financial support to Pakistan. So whatever the money that used to be brought by Pakistan earlier used to be spent for the military purpose or to sponsor terrorism in India. This is sponsoring terrorism. Pakistan was sponsoring terrorism. What is that sponsoring terrorism? Suppose if for the sake of the stone pelting, there used to be very frequent pictures of the stone pelting in Jammu and Kashmir published in the newspapers very regularly. But today we are not finding such kind of stone pelting scenes. Stone pelting means throwing the stones. How much you charge if you are given the task of stone pelting? In the childhood you used to throw the stones, right? Some of you might have also blasted the bulbs in the street lights. So did you charge anything for that? You did it free of cost. But Pakistan used to provide money for this purpose. If you are a novice, they used to be paid 1,000 rupees per day for stone pelting work. Novice means if you are a new entrant. And if you are an experienced person, gaining experience of stone pelting, participating in the stone pelting activities for 10 times or 20 times, then you will be paid 30,000 rupees per day only for the sake of stone pelting. That too only 1 hour work. You have to tie a mask on your face and you throw the stones on the security forces. And this activity will be there only for 1 hour, you will be paid 30,000. And next week another activity. So Pakistan was sponsoring the terrorism on these lines. But today, Pakistan itself has to be sponsored by someone. China is now giving loans to Pakistan. Pakistan in no way is repaying to China. And the interest rate is also very high. Interest rate is 10%. Generally, international debts are given at a rate of 0.8%. 0.8% means if you are borrowing 100 rupees, 80 paisa you have to pay as the interest rate per annum. That is the 0.8%. Whereas China is charging 10% interest rate. 10% interest rate means for every 100 rupees you have to pay 10 rupees as interest. Only interest you have to pay like that. China is charging on those lines. So where is the money for Pakistan to participate in any military activity? So India is actually ready to wage a war on the Pak-occupied Kashmir. And because I have already told you that India's military strength has grown largely. India is exporting arms and ammunition and it has increased to the level of 385%. That means we export only after fulfilling our needs, right? We have very strong military, very strong arms and ammunition. If we wage a war on Pak-occupied Kashmir, and most of the people in Pak-occupied Kashmir are also ready to rejoin India. It is not a Pakistan territory. It is an Indian territory occupied by Pakistan. Therefore, it is called Pak-occupied Kashmir. And therefore, you will find that 24 seats in the Jammu Kashmir always remain vacant without election. Jammu Kashmir Assembly, has 24 seats vacant. These 24 seats fall under the jurisdiction of Jammu and the Pak occupied Kashmir. So we are ready to take it over. But we are not doing it because we are waiting for a right time. Because some people are ready to come and join with India. That is only to the extent of 25%. But 75% of the people are still favoring Pakistan. At this juncture, if you take over Pak occupied Kashmir, these 75% people will become a cancer for India. So India is managing these people also to gradually turn out their opinion in favor of India, just like Pakistan used to do in Jammu and Kashmir. Pakistan used to create a propaganda in the Jammu Kashmir state against India. The same thing we are doing in Pak occupied Kashmir as of now. Gradually we are turning the opinion of the Pak occupied Kashmir people in favor of India now. So if you have observed the newspapers, several terrorists are being killed in Pakistan in the recent times in a series of ways. And I think these terrorists in Pakistan who are being killed by the raw agents only. The research and analysis wing agents, that is Indian spying agency. These people, the terrorists in Pakistan, are being killed in Pakistan with the planning of the Indian raw agents. We cannot deny this reality. And in Pakistan, so far till 2019, Pakistan used to promote terrorism in India. They used to promote and support the Talibans. But now Pakistan itself is a victim of the Talibans, target of the Talibans. Because there is a group called Taliban Pakistan. Taliban Pakistan. This Taliban Pakistan group from Afghanistan is operating in Pakistan and it is regularly attacking the police stations in Pakistan. It has its own problems now. There are terrorists in Pakistan itself affecting the Pakistan administration, influencing the Pakistan government, attacking the Pakistani police stations. From this Afghanistan, this Taliban Pakistan is actually demanding for a separation of Pakistan. As of now, there are 4 demands to separate the Pakistan. Like Sindh region in Pakistan, Baluch region in the Pakistan, and Taliban Pakistan. These are the 3 demands. If these 3 demands for the separation of Pakistan are fulfilled, Pakistan will become 4 countries. Already we are responsible for dividing the Pakistan into 2 in 1971 after separating the Bangladesh from the West Pakistan. The East Pakistan is being separated. That is the reason why Pakistan is actually doing things against India, promoting terrorism against India. So now Pakistan itself is reeling under troubles and there are demands for separation of the Pakistan. 4 countries of Pakistan will emerge. Even if you occupy Pak occupied Kashmir, if you take over the Pak occupied Kashmir, there will be no big problem. Only problem will be they have to be converted. Their attitude has to be converted. The 75% of the population who are living in Pak occupied Kashmir, the propaganda should be successfully carried against Pakistan and in favor of India. That will take a few years, 5-6 years, and in the next 5-6 years that will become a part of India. When that will become a part of India, the idea of the Akhand Bharat will begin. But the idea of Akhand Bharat in the ancient India was different from the idea of Akhand Bharat today. What is Akhand Bharat? Undivided India. Akhand Bharat means the Indian subcontinent, the entire Indian subcontinent. What is the Indian subcontinent? Comprising of the Afghanistan, Pakistan, then India, the present mainland India, then Bangladesh. These entire territories together, including Sri Lanka, entire territories together used to be called as the Indian subcontinent. And some parts of Vietnam, Malaysia were also part of the ancient undivided India, Akhand Bharat. But this ancient idea of Akhand Bharat cannot be achieved today. At the most, Akhand Bharat in India, in the present situation, modern situation, would be possible only with the incorporation of Pak occupied territory. But we need not have the incorporation of the Bangladesh, incorporation of Pakistan is not necessary. There was an opportunity in 1971 because Indian armies in 1971 have went till Lahore. They have occupied almost till Lahore, Indian armies in 1971 war. But because Indian government is having a concern for the peace and respect for the sovereignty of other countries, we have left away that Lahore region. So it was possible, and even today also it is possible, but practically the territories which are already separated, Pakistan and Bangladesh, they are not required for us. We are happy with what we had today. So the idea of Akhand Bharat is only to include the Pak-occupied Kashmir, reincorporate Pak-occupied Kashmir only, and reincorporate the 95,000 kilometer that is being occupied by China is also necessary. We do not excuse any country. We do not excuse any country, whether it is America or it is China or Pakistan. We have no intention to excuse any country if somebody is slicing us. What is this slicing? Cutting down. What is this cutting down? China usually adopted, earlier used to adopt salami slicing tactics. What is that salami slicing tactic? Gradually occupying India's territory. 1 feet a day, suppose. If you are occupying India's territory 1 feet a day, even satellites cannot observe it. And this technique of occupying Indian territory 1 feet a day is known as the salami slicing. Gradual occupation. Gradually cutting down the things. So that kind of salami slicing tactics are no more accepted. And when Chinese government has named 11 areas in Arunachal Pradesh as Chinese territories, on the second day, the Union Home Minister visited Arunachal Pradesh and has given strength to motivation to the Indian armies over there, openly challenging sovereignty of China, questioning how you can occupy and name our territories as Chinese territories. So it is not a matter of excusing anybody. It is not a matter of condemning something. It's a matter of taking action, that's all. If today, on the spot, if there is a war between India and China, India will definitely win. It is not the same India that was there in 1962. Because since 1962, India's army, India's military strength has drastically improved. After 1962, India has fought several battles, including the 1971 war, 1965 war, 1968 war with Pakistan, consecutively 3 times. And Kargil war we have fought. And we were also successful in the Galwan Valley. We were also successful in the various other encounters with China. In all these battles that happened after 1962 war, India was successful. But China has no experience of fighting any battle after 1962. The Chinese soldiers are not in a position to face any real battle. Today we are having 2 batches. We have 2 batches in the Indian army. 2 batches of what? Agniveers. Who are these 2 batches of Agniveers? The young soldiers who are recruited into the Indian army, who are very enthusiastic to fight a battle with China or Pakistan. They are ready to fight it. They have taken 6 months of training from the government, from the military. And they are working in the army. And they wanted to die for the nation. And they are waiting for the war to come. So if there was a war with China, China will be eliminated. Because we are also having friendship with the enemies of China. Because Kautilya said, your enemy's enemy is your friend. So therefore we have started friendship with the enemies of China. Who are the enemies of China? Japan, America, and Vietnam, Malaysia, Turkmenistan. These are all the enemies of China. And we are friendly relations. We are maintaining the friendly relations with those countries. And if Beijing is waging a war on India, then from behind, a BrahMos missile will be released by Vietnam. We have supplied the BrahMos missile. BrahMos missile is a intercontinental ballistic missile. What is that intercontinental ballistic missile? Which is having a capacity of traveling with nuclear warhead up to the extent of 5,000 kilometers. It can travel up to the extent of 5,000 kilometers with a nuclear warhead. That is the range of the BrahMos missile. And we have intentionally supplied it to almost at a reduced cost and free servicing. We are also providing free service for the maintenance of this missile to Vietnam. So that Beijing will always be under the radar of the Vietnam with the BrahMos missile ready to be shoot. So if Beijing wages a war on India, Vietnam releases a BrahMos on China. That will shut down everything. And according to the records, the distance that can be traveled by the BrahMos missile is only 5,000 kilometers. But it can be extended. Internally, the DRDO has made internal adjustments whereby it can travel up to 10,000 kilometers. It can shoot any target up to 10,000 kilometers. Insider rules and regulations. Insider news. In the rules, what it said, 5,000 kilometers. But inherently, it has the capacity of extendability up to 10,000 kilometers. That technology is not given to Vietnam. Only technology up to 5,000 kilometers is given. So all these countries will be activated if China wages a war. From the front line, we fight the battle. From behind, those countries will also wage a war on China. So that is the arrangement that we have made with various other countries. This is how we have to look at the things from a comprehensive dimensions, not individual aspects. If you look at the things only from one point of view, something seems to be incomplete. A comprehensive understanding of the things would be from all these dimensions. As I told you about agriculture. Agriculture development would not be possible only with agricultural development. Agriculture development would be possible with industrial development, with infrastructure development. Similarly, the goals of achieving, Akhanda Bharat would not be possible only by occupying some territories, but also keeping some countries under control, keeping some countries under the scanner, and having friendship with some other countries. All those things would also be required. So, we conclude here. In the next session, in some other session, we'll take up some other topic.